Tetrasagi just posted. This isn't Barbie. What is this? Hi, I have a different shirt on, so that means I'm somebody else. Today, we're going to be talking about Castle Crashers. Castle Crashers is a third-person action MMORPG that takes deep inspiration from Karl Marx's socialist theories and asks, why are you playing this game that came out in 2008? To which I respond, because I'm bored and it's extremely short and I can make a YouTube video out of it. Now, this game has a very deep-rooted place in my childhood and has defined some of my most remembered memories, like that time my mom and her ex-boyfriend were yelling at each other so loud that I was fearful of my safety and hid under my blanket while playing this game, my tears acting as sustenance as I was too afraid to go out into the kitchen. I'm gonna play the gray guy, he looks cool. Castle Crashers isn't your run-of-the-mill beat-em-up, where you're using a whole bunch of different character combos to beat fools. Rather, it forfeits those complex combos for more simple ones, and mixes in sprinkles of magic powers that are unique in each character. The little blue man, for example, shoots ice, the booger boy uses poison, and the pink one uses the power of self-expression. So why are you doing all these magics and combos and such? Well, that's quite simple. Bad evil wizards stole the princesses from the castle, and it's your job to rescue them and battle your friends to the death to get a piece of that sweet, sweet cake. Luckily, I don't have any of those pesky friends. You progress through the relatively big world and hunt down each of the princesses until you've retrieved them all, and that's basically the synopsis of Castle Crashers. But is the game actually good? Well, seeing as I didn't have any friends who owned the game, my cousin is at work, and my girlfriend doesn't live with me yet, I had to do something that 12-year-old me had done all too often. Play with myself. Now, do keep in mind that we will be getting into some spoilers, so if you don't want to have this amazing narrative experience ruined for you, just subscribe and then wait patiently for Barbie. All good? Great. So like I said before, evil guy steals crystal and the ladies, and it's up to me, Caleb less than one greater than, to fix it. Now I'll warn you guys, this game was pretty challenging when I was a kid, so don't be too impressed when I display an unprecedented level of skill. Looks like I've still got it. With my head held high and my ego inflated, I headed to the first arena to cement myself as the one true Castle Crasher. Now wait, I know what you're thinking. Did I get my ass kicked? Yeah, you can call it that. But did I die again my entire playthrough after this one death? No. So now who's laughing? Come on, I mean, the arena was pointless anyway. I couldn't even level up in there. Speaking of leveling up, boom! Did I scare you? So unlike every other video game in the world where you get experience, level up, and grow stronger by killing things and bosses, in Castle Crashers you get experience and you level up proportionately to how often you hit something. Meaning that if you level up your magic or physical damage, you will just kill things so fast to the point where you just won't level up anymore. So I had situations where I would just have to not make myself stronger and then sit and do this. For minutes and minutes at a time. And mind you, that may not seem like a lot, but for a game that in all honesty doesn't take much skill and the main challenge is derived from having bigger numbers than everyone else, this process becomes a necessary evil if I even want to think about progressing. Fun, right? After returning and busting up my first boss and watching as his body was pressed into goop by a treasure chest, I finally got a piece of that sweet, sweet cake. But this carnal distraction couldn't keep me from my main goal, kissing even more women. Leaving the castle for something a bit more scenic, I entered the forest, where I'm introduced to buff enemies and the most adorable thing in existence, a crocodile with a saddle. Buff enemies are actually really annoying because if you try to fight them with your sword, they straight up just grab you and throw you. They can break through your shield too, so the only real way to deal with them is from a distance. Castle Crashers' majestic comedy is also displayed in full in the forest, and it was honestly pretty hard to stifle a chuckle. Oh look, we're here again. After that fun 6 minutes, we're introduced to one of Castle Crashers' various minigames. The game serves genuinely fun and interesting distractions, but I don't necessarily like the deer one because I've probably done it a million times. The obligatory water level arrives, and it actually isn't all that bad. The catfish will basically attack you a couple times before throwing up a hairball. If the hairball is left untouched, it will disrupt your artillery from stunning the fish, making you do less damage. Now comes fighting the dudes who wrangled the catfish, the polar bears. They suck. Bad. I came into this section of the game dreading it because of how hard I remembered those bears being. But not only am I 7 years older now than I was the last time I played this game, but I also don't feel guilty about abusing this game's outdated combat system, so after a lot of hard and skill-intensive fighting, I came out on top. Next, I fought this sexually frustrated bat with a thing for scat. I don't really know what the creators of this game were on, but someone on the dev team really likes poop. It's weird, it's everywhere, and it probably smells disgusting. Getting lost in a crowd of men who look just like me, we proceed to my single favorite level in the game besides the final boss fight, Wedding Crashers. It's an excellent example of everything that Castle Crashers does right, innovative encounters, and wonderful and environmental storytelling. The level begins with you trying to save the Green Princess, who is about to be married to some dude. After infiltrating the wedding via catapult, you proceed through the venue until you fight the Grim. He is cool as hell, and he plays an organ that is strapped to the brim with cannons and tries to light your ass up. After beating his teeth in, his BFF gets angry and takes his corpse along with the Green Princess, and the two flee on a carriage. Launching yourself out of the organ, a battle ensues on the top of the cart. The sequence sees the return of the deer guy, who you actually get to kill this time, and the whole level is just really cool, and it's all tied together really well. You follow the Cyclops guy and eventually are given the opportunity to fight him. His fight is alright. It's a lot of the same, and he's really easy once you get his pattern down, but nevertheless, Caleb, less than one greater than, gets another slice of that sweet cake. It was after this level that I decided to actually begin leveling up my magic damage, which thank God I did because the rest of the game would have been a nightmare if I hadn't. Moving on to the last level of the first half, we are introduced to super sandwiches. When activating it for the first time at 3 in the morning, I almost shat myself at the noise it made, and that made me want a sandwich. With over half of the game completed, I was growing more and more self-confident in my abilities, and decided it was time to tackle an even harder arena than the first one to prove once and for all that I was in fact the man. I am, in fact, the man. With super sandwiches in hand, we can now enter the industrial zone, where we face off against some dude with a robot. Murdering him with relative ease, we snag his telescope before sailing to the other half of the map. The boat ride is filled with a ninja attack and some really good music, but we're able to pull through without too much trouble. In the desert, we find the shovel, which lets Caleb dig up all the various X's that are scattered around the map. Gems, food, pets, and even weapons are hidden behind usage of tools like the shovel and bombs. These rare pets and weapons usually have some additional strong effects like higher stat boosts, damage, and all that jazz. After being abducted by aliens, we must escape their ship in order to escape the shithole that is the desert. The alien ship part is kinda cool as it pays homage to Behemoth's earlier title, Alien Hominid, that came out the same year that I was born. The ship isn't necessarily challenging per se, almost none of the game is, but the swarm combat against the aliens that only have 1 health is kinda fun. And having to escape the ship in a set time limit also provides another cool challenge that you don't see anywhere else in the game. It's really interesting to me because Castle Crashers has almost no diversity in its normal gameplay loop, and you're basically just running around stabbing and shooting people, but there's so many different minigames and challenges to play that all do a great job at keeping the game feeling fresh. The Sand Temple is quick and painless, and I get my ass kicked at volleyball before squeezing out a glorious victory and continuing on to the last stretch of the game. It's me. Again. I wanted to take this time to talk about some things that I can't really efficiently talk about while we're playing through the game, mainly like the music and like level backgrounds and stuff like that. The music in this game, for example, is honestly really good. I recommend you listen to like Rage of the Champions and Jumper. Those tracks are really amazing. And something I've noticed about Castle Crashers is like every level's music fits it really well. Like there's no like weird mismatches between like level type and like theme and music. At the same time, besides the music, like the environmental storytelling is really good too. Castle Crashers is a game that doesn't have a lot of dialogue, so like in some levels you'll look in the background and see upcoming bosses like mowing through dudes and just beating the shit out of them. And it's just a really cool detail, especially when this game came out a long time ago, like what, 14 years ago. It's just really impressive to see that level of dedication in its 2D backgrounds. With my face out of the way, in that segment of the video over, we pop some corn and earn myself a horn, and I'm able to open a door that lets me face the baddest bitch in all of Castle Crashers. Medusa is kind of a boring fight compared to some of the others, especially the ones at the end of the game, as well as the Wedding Crashers boss fight. But like, she's not as gross as Scatbat, and she's sexy as hell, so she's at least like a 9 out of 10. Dodging some rocks and snowballs leads me to the Ice Wizard's castle, where I'm looking to save the third to last princess. He's got some interesting puzzles, but I began to notice something strange about the game. Much like this video, the longer the game went on, the shorter each section got. I went through the entirety of the Ice Palace in literally 4 minutes and 58 seconds, whilst the hunt for the Green Princess, which included the wedding and chase segments, took me over half an hour. Luckily, the quality of the game doesn't really get bad, and although the playtime shortens exponentially, it still remains fun. With the Ice King gruesomely frozen, I enter the last part of the game, the Wizard's Castle. This segment is split up into 4 boss battles, and I love them all. The first is the Painter, some weird guy who speaks distorted English and makes art that comes to whoop your ass. His drawings are funny, but I never really liked this boss because unlike the other 3, I don't really think he was shown throughout the game and more so seemed like a last minute addition. And I know I literally just said I liked him and then followed it with I don't like him. I more so mean I like him as an enemy, but it's kind of lame that he's just here all of a sudden. He wasn't really challenging, and his paintings would just follow you around until you dealt enough damage to them or they came in contact with you, and since I didn't do any damage to destroy them, I basically just ran into them over and over again until I could do enough damage to the painter himself to bring him down. Nevertheless, I did have fun fighting him, and his weapon he dropped made the next 2 fights way easier. Hey yo, it's my boys! After the Painter, we see a familiar face in the Groom and the Cyclops, who now work together to try to kill you. This fight is a great follow-up to the Cyclops fight because it's way better. His hitbox is increased to make it more challenging. His arrows are now fireballs, so they do AoE damage, bigger hitboxes, and they fire faster. And he now summons the dead Groom to run around and try to kill you while he tries to like pogo stick on your head and like make it easier for the Groom to hit you. It's a really cool duo fight. I think it would have been better if like, I don't know, you could like damage the Groom and they had like a shared health bar and stuff like that, and they more so fleshed them out as a pair instead of as a singular unit. But it's still probably like my favorite fight in the game, I'm not even gonna lie. The Necromancer is the second to last boss in the game and summons all enemies that you have faced all throughout the game before him. I'm actually a little disappointed with this fight. It had everything going for it. The music was fucking bumping, the arena was badass, and the concept of fighting every enemy type you've ever faced in the past was really, really cool on paper. But then you actually get to fight the Necromancer, and he's really, really easy. Mind you, all bosses in this game are really easy. If I've said it once, I've said it a million times. But it felt strange that for the final boss to not even have like a little bit of difficulty. Like, I think the Painter and the Groom and Cyclops are both way harder than him. His fight plays out almost exactly like the Groom the first time you fight him, except he's missing out on the cannons that made the Groom so cool. The last time I played this game, this is actually where I stopped because I was so underleveled that I just couldn't beat his like onslaught of minions before you actually fight him. He took me 3 minutes. He wasn't very much to sneeze at. The final battle, how exciting. Replaying this game has brought forward a lot of really good memories. I used to play this game a lot with my siblings when I was little, and it was one of the first games I ever played with my cousin, who now lives with me and is basically my best friend. Out of all the games I could have played first on this channel, I'm glad Castle Crashers is the one. At the time of finishing this video, I'm starting school again, but this time I'm living without the help of any adults. That's a scary prospect for me. Because of that fear, I really wanted to start making YouTube videos to really be able to apply myself to something other than just playing video games for hours on end. But I guess I am playing video games for hours on end and making this channel, but at least I'm like showing people, I guess. The figment of my past that is Castle Crashers has really given me the comfort I needed over the last few weeks to sort of refocus and not stress myself out about my new situation. Applying myself to the creation of this video and the Barbie video that's coming up have really kept me out of my head and kept me busy. It's important for us as people to have something to put our minds into, whether that be relationships or hobbies or even work. At the end of the day, just make sure you're looking out for yourselves and doing the best things you can that you derive true enjoyment from. Now let's finish this mediocre game. It's really funny, actually. I was originally going to do a video on Satisfactory, that sandbox building game, but the timing didn't really work out because my friends who all played the game were leaving and in Disneyland and stuff like that, so I had to find something else. The memory of me playing this game as a kid with one of my mom's ex-boyfriend's kids stuck out and kind of like brought my eyes to it in my library, because back then we were poor and we only had the demo of the game for the Xbox 360. And in the demo, you could only get to that first like giant barbarian boss fight, and then like halfway through, one of those gross ass troll creatures would come in and like turn off a light and like tell, "Oh, you gotta buy the game." Yeah. Either way, I'm rambling now. This game was really fun, and I recommend that everyone who can play it does, especially with some friends. I might actually go through in a couple weeks when my friends are home and play it with my friends. It was a pretty good time, and I know I said it was mediocre, and I probably would have had a lot more fun if I wasn't doing it alone. There are a couple things I didn't do, like play the other characters I unlocked or even delve into insane mode, so if that's something that you'd be interested in seeing, let me know in the comments. Likes and subscriptions are always appreciated, and I'll come crash your castle if you don't sub, if you know what I'm saying, but it's never necessary, and I just appreciate your time watching this video. But for now, I am Castle Crashers, and this has been Nitrosagi. Thank you for tuning in.